Hey everyone, if you are ready for sustainable solutions to help make your day just a little bit better and also improve your efficiency and effectiveness as students, you're in the right place.
Coffee on the counter, calendar in view. Got a room full of futures and a plan that's tried and true. I've done the late nights, I felt the burnout. Now I choose what feeds me and still brings the best out. Sustainable teaching. I can lead and still be breathing. Strong and steady, I'm increasing. Sustainable teaching. That's in the rhythm of my freedom. This is how I start my day believing.
Hey everyone, my name is Ray Hewart. Welcome to the Sustainable Teaching Podcast. We have Stephanie here with us. Stephanie, how you doing?
I'm great, thank you.
I am so excited for us to talk shop, share ideas. But before we get too far in, I want to make sure our community, if they're not already connected to you, gets to hear a bit about you. Do you mind sharing a little bit about what you do in education?
Sure, I can share a little bit. I've been doing this for quite a while. I feel like one of the old people that's still around in education. I'm on year 26, so I'm currently a principal in Phoenix, Arizona, uh, doing some turnaround work at a large Title I middle school. Before that, I taught for 16 years, mostly in the state of Wisconsin, and that's where I started my administrator experience before moving here to Arizona, where it's a lot warmer.
Oh, I love the middle school age. That is where my background originally started as well. And so to hear that you're a principal at a middle school, I'm like, holy moly, they're smelly, sarcastic, and amazing.
They are. You gotta love them, otherwise it's way too hard.
Oh, it's so fun. And I'm actually in Chicago. We go to Wisconsin quite a bit. Where were you in the state of Wisconsin?
I was actually in Green Bay.
Really?
I
Yeah.
taught in the Green Bay Area Public School District,
Yes.
and I was there for a while, and also up in Door County.
Love it. Okay, so do you have to keep your Packers fan status when you go to Arizona, or are you allowed to switch it up?
I am asked that all the time, and sadly, I was never a big Packers fan. Went to the games occasionally, but one of the difficult things about living in Green Bay is that the city shuts down. It is so crowded, there's nowhere to go, and it can make it a little difficult.
Yeah, I believe it. I'm in a family of a lot of people that are diehard Packers fans. And as a Chicago girl, I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's against my religion. So
Yeah.
I always love asking. But you know what? There are so many other things to enjoy about Wisconsin and amazing other places, including Arizona for sure. Have you enjoyed the weather of since the move has obviously taken you to not only a new school environment, but also that weather's got to be nicer?
Yes, it's absolutely great, and, we have, grown children still in Wisconsin, and, it's fun to send them weather reports here, when they're hitting, negative degrees
I know.
and getting snowstorms.
Ugh, it must be so fun. Yeah, I have family members that do that to me too, and I it's a bittersweet love, let me tell you. I love it.
It is. You gotta deal with the snow if you're gonna be there, and you kinda gotta love it.
It's true. So true. So you mentioned you're doing a lot of turnaround work. That is challenging work, and a few of our educators listening, I'm sure, are thinking, "Okay, what is that? What does that entail?" Do you mind sharing a little bit around what that title means, but then also what it allows you to really focus on?
Sure. Being a turnaround principal means that I was brought into a school that really had challenges. We had a lot of behavior issues. There was a lot of aggression, lots of, I mean, I hate to say it, but really there was a lot of violence going on. And it was a result of a lot of different factors inside school, outside school. Um, Part of what I'm doing is not only trying to build a safe community where students feel ready to learn,
Mhm.
and staff feel like they can connect with students. We're also working on bringing up all those academic pieces. Low scores, low achievement, high truancy, all of those things are a problem. And so we're building a community first, improving the culture first, making kids feel like they're heard, like they are valued. And that helps us bring the scores up.
There are so many factors to consider with the very powerful work that you're doing. Is this something that you have grown a passion for? Was this something you sought out? I just know so many educators are either going to fall into one of two buckets, either, oh my gosh, I really would love to take on that challenge, or, ooh, not for me, I'm running the other direction.
It is, it's a mixed bag of joy and stress and all of the things. I didn't run to it, but I certainly wasn't going to run away from it. I have worked in public and private and all different types of communities. The big push for me was that it was middle school. Um, you would think those middle school opportunities would pop up all the time, but actually they don't. I think once people get settled into a middle school environment, they've chosen it because they love it and they don't necessarily leave. And I love that age group and working with those students for all the reasons. They're you could be a little sarcastic, they're fun, they're quirky. Middle school's when you're just a little weird, and it allows you to laugh with them. I I love what we are able to do right now and turn around for our students. It is incredibly difficult, but I'm enjoying it.
So powerful. We're going to get into some sustainable teaching practices. And we say teaching, reminder to everybody that we're thinking about our paraprofessionals, our educators in the classroom, our coaches, our administrators. How do we keep this education field something that we can really build partners in and long-term success in? So we'll be right back. This episode is brought to you by the Teachers Deserve It Blueprint, a done-for-you system for building a classroom that works without burnout. If you're tired of piecing it together on your own, this is your framework. See what's inside at teachersdeserveit.com. Stephanie, there is a lot of stress that I can only imagine you encounter on a day-to-day basis, not only because you're an educator, but also in educational leadership, working with a school that's doing some massive growth, not only in relationship building, but academic scores and everything else. It's one of the things I am incredibly passionate about, and I know so many educators are going to be eager to hear your suggestions. I can only imagine that in the position you're in, taking work home with you, or even living in some of the stress or carrying some of the weight of the expectations can be challenging. What steps have you taken, big or teeny tiny, that you feel like have just really helped with helping to make your job sustainable?
There are so many things that we do each day to just sort of, survive's a strong word, but it's true. Anybody who's been in education for a little while, it takes all those things and just to get through the day. One of the things that I was really really glad that I set up when I first got to this school was a room about halfway through our campus that we used for professional development. But I also use it as a place like my number 2 stopping zone. Our campus is really large. We have a huge amount of space, including a large courtyard, hallways. We are an inside campus, which in Arizona isn't always true.
Right.
And both my AP and I spend a lot of time with our mobile desks because you have to be present.
Right.
And our offices are in actually a separate building just outside of the classroom building. So being in there isn't going to do anything to help us connect with students, connect with teachers. So we're out and about as much as possible. And I've set up a space about halfway through campus that, like I said, is our professional development room, but it also gives me a spot where I can drop the cart, stick it in there because I need to get to something or be somewhere. And that has saved so many minutes, saved a ton of steps, because you've got to deal with things along the way, and trying to get all the way back to the administrative building to set things down. You can't, I mean, this is middle school. I can't leave my phones, my laptops, all of those things sitting on a cart in the hallway when I've got to deal with something or pop in. It's not always great to be, rolling a cart into a classroom. So that was probably one of the first decisions that I made, that I'm thrilled I put into practice.
This is going to be relevant to any educator that moves around, doesn't have a home base, and really any leader in any sort of situation, because regardless of how large your school is, there's always a barrier. There's always a dead end hallway. There's a long stretch that's far away from your office. I love the almost the reflection point of saying, where do you need to be more often than not? What are the barriers to being there? And can you set up little, like a spot or a station or whatever that helps you manage being in that area just a little bit better, right? A silly thing that so many of us have already figured out is carrying walkie-talkies, right? I can be away from the office.
Yeah.
The office can get a hold of me. That's so 20 years ago, right? Now we're in the, where do I drop my moving cart? Where do I, go get that resource that I keep copies of it in the office, but I'm going to also keep copies here because it seems to be relevant, right? Those little reflection points where we can say, how are we walking around and moving around our space to do our job? I think that's a really, really beautiful activity for our community here to do.
Right. Even if it's just a closet, ask the office for that extra key to that maintenance or storage or whatever. Not everybody's got extra rooms. Our campus is not at capacity, so we do have some spaces that we can use, but a closet where you can set something and go manage something else, just so that it's secure and you can move on.
An empty locker in the hallway that you needed, that you have access to somehow, that you can keep. I mean, again, it's depending on what your role is, what you might stash looks different, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. But that's a really great way to think about how to make the movement required in your role more sustainable, because you can't just walk up and back to your office when your office is at one end of campus, and you need to be a representative of leadership in all elements of the campus, which is really, really important. Is there anything else that you found that's been really helpful in your practices, similar to that maybe, that you're like, for whatever reason, we decided to do this and it just was a nice game changer?
Just offhand, I guess we have to do a substantial amount of testing in our building. Public schools, we've got all of these different assessments that we have to do. Like I said, we're fortunate. We've got some empty areas on our campus, and enrollment's down everywhere. So my thought is there's probably a lot of leaders out there that have that same thing going. We had a section of our campus that, because we're middle school, we had 6th, 7th, and 8th. And our 6th grade was housed in this separate section. We moved them. It was incredibly difficult to monitor, manage, be present in this. It was like this third piece. So we had the administrative building, we had our 7th and 8th grade, and then we had a third section that just had 6th grade. It made no sense. So we moved them because we had the space into that main learning area. And what that freed up for us was an area that we could use for different state assessments. So we have the Azella coming up for our ELs, and to make that run smoothly, you've got to shut off bells. You've got to make sure the area is quiet. Kids shouldn't be wandering the halls. You've got to have different supervision. So what we do during those testing weeks, days, is we move all those students to that separate section of the building. So now the bathrooms aren't being used by anyone else. The kids aren't circulating through regular periods, interrupting the students that are testing. And our teachers don't have to cover or tear down everything they have up in their classroom. They've got an environment that is clean and ready to go. It has made a huge difference in our test prep, but it's also made it easier for students to focus. It's a different area. Sometimes you have to move from that one space where you're doing a lot of movement and interactive kinds of things into an area that's set up for assessment, and it changes that mindset.
Stephanie, both elements that you shared, while I could ask you 1,000 questions about how you're dealing with so many other things in your school, two pieces here, both dealing with being really intentional with your physical space. And I think that that's something that we think about so much over the summer or even as the school year ends, and not always so much throughout the year. And this would be such a nice time into second semester to say, is there anything that we want to change up for next year that we should start thinking about now? Because we're not, later on, it's just so busy, right? There's a million things to do. And can we take today or take this weekend or next week to think through being really intentional with our space? I love that reminder to help with sustainable practices in our role.
Right. Thank you. Yeah.
So powerful. We are going to continue with this trend to try and get into some questions that our community has asked. And we don't promise to have all the answers, but we definitely will try and see if we can help. So stick with us. Before we wrap up, if you're not subscribed to the Sustainable Teaching Substack, you're missing out. Every Friday, you'll get an episode plus a free download resource. Subscribe for free over at our Substack. And if you have any questions you want answered in a future episode, drop them over at teachersdeserveit.com by direct messaging the team or emailing olivia@teachersdeserveit.com. Stephanie, we have some questions here that was submitted by educators in the Teachers Deserve It community. I thought we could just brainstorm and see if we can help.
Hopefully we can.
Hopefully we can. Fingers crossed. Here's one. All right. It says here, I'm a third grade teacher and I just found out I'm being moved to sixth grade next year. I didn't ask for it. And to be honest, I didn't want it. I spent 8 years building new systems and resources and my whole identity around elementary. Now I feel like I have to start all over because the district needs me there. Of course, I smiled and said, okay, but I don't know if I want to do this. How do I handle being forced into something that I didn't choose to? Rough.
Embrace it. Embrace it.
Mm-hmm.
I have taught every grade level. I've taught 1-8 all the way through. Some were by choice, some were not.
Yeah.
And, I've taught third grade and I've taught sixth grade.
Yeah.
Yes, they're very different. Sixth grade, though, they're kind of just big elementary kids just trying to figure themselves out. They really want to love you. They want to connect with you. Start the year, have fun, enjoy. And, if it isn't your passion and your love, have fun with them for a year and ask to be shifted somewhere else later.
Yeah, I know that it can be so challenging to be voluntold to do anything, right? That's a struggling feeling that almost, takes some time. We all can take, an hour. I always joke in my family, like take 3 hours and be upset about this. And then after that, we have to move on. But then with that being said, let's really identify why you don't want to move. Because the reality is that there are actually some of the best sixth grade teachers I knew were former elementary teachers. And some of the best third grade teachers I knew were great middle school teachers. And moving around actually brings such a great opportunity, not only for your students, but for you to try new things. And I love your description about the sixth graders being so similar to third grade. I could not agree more. Sixth graders are still such little kids, and it's so fun to be able to kind of work with a larger student with a very similar, mentality of that little kid in them. Sometimes you just have to jump full force and see if you like it, right? What you can do anything for a year, right? You can do
Right,
anything
right,
for a year.
right. I jumped from first to fourth one year. It was by choice. I'm not a first grade teacher.
Mhm,
Um, Spent a year though,
mhm,
and yeah, you think, I'm going from teaching kids to read,
right.
and into, fourth grade. Man, we're going to be doing some long division and we're going to be studying some, more intense topics.
Yeah.
It was a great move. It
Mhm,
was, you just got to reset your brain, talk to the people spend a little time with the other sixth grade teachers,
yeah.
build your confidence up, and, don't give up all those systems you put in place in third grade because chances are they're going to work in
100%. That's what I was also thinking. You've
well.
been doing this for, I think she said 8 years. That
Yeah.
8 years is
Mhm.
a long time teaching the same subject. I think it's
It
actually going to be a
is.
blessing in disguise. But don't lose your people. Keep in contact with that third grade team you taught with. Get to know the sixth grade team. You're going to actually bring so much into this transition, and it's all about your mindset. So
Yeah.
that will be really great. You up to handle one more?
Yeah, sure.
All right. This one says, I teach 10th grade English, and I'm also a teacher everyone seems to come and vent to. Other teachers stop by my room to unload their problems. I listen, I support, I give advice, but no one ever asks how I'm doing. I'm drowning too because I feel like I can't say it because I'm supposed to be the strong one. Oh, so they don't feel like they can vent because they're the ones that people are venting to.
Mhm.
Um, let's finish this up here. It says, I don't have the energy sometimes even to drive home. I don't know who I can talk to. How do you take care of yourself when you're everyone else's emotional support system? I feel like this is also very common in leadership roles. What do you think?
Very much so.
Yeah. Mhm.
Um, yeah, it's hard. It's emotionally draining.
Yeah.
My AP I know could answer this or could connect with this person
Yeah.
incredibly well. Um, she is the go-to.
Mm,
And I think you've got to just find the understanding that you are there's a reason people are coming to you.
mhm,
And take pride in that,
mhm,
and there's an okay time to just close your door.
mhm. Yep.
Close Take some time for yourself, drive home, leave on time.
Mhm,
Say, I'm gonna leave this bag here. Everything can wait.
mhm,
There are very few things in education that can't wait 24 hours. And take care of yourself.
mhm.
Close the door every once in a while.
I think that's a great recommendation. Something I'm hearing from this question is that while they may be the person that people vent to, it doesn't sound like they have their own
Yeah.
avenue for that. And that really comes down to whether it's a clear communication or not, really knowing that you have someone that you can vent to and, take that time, and also that you can close off being somebody's resource. All that, you can close that door and say, hey, I really am always going to be here for you, but today I don't have any
Mhm.
more to give, but thank you so much, and please keep me in mind for the future.
Right, right. There's so many different groups out there like this, and chat groups. I wonder if there is a group of other high school teachers, even
Mhm.
APs, try and find some of those. You may not, that may not be your ambition.
Yeah.
Counselors, somebody else that works in education that
Yeah.
you can, even if you're chatting online, zooming with every once in a while,
Yes.
to look to for support.
Absolutely. I always joke with people that while, the Sustainable Teaching podcast is connected to the Teachers Deserve It movement, our whole mission is to save educators time, help you all be more efficient and
Mhm.
effective. And one of the things I joke with all the time is anybody that can make it to happy hour, I feel like I've won. Like that was our goal. If you can make
Absolutely.
it to happy hour, it was a good day. I love it. So this last question here has to do with behavioral needs. So if you don't mind, we're going to do one more because I'd love to hear your thoughts on this.
Sure.
This educator writes, I'm a second grade teacher and I just got a new student mid-year with significant behavioral needs. No aid, no support, no plan. He flipped a table on Tuesday. He hit another student the day after. The other parents are emailing me asking what I'm going to do about it. Admin says I need to build relationships, but I have 24 other kids who are watching me lose control of my classroom. I feel like a failure every single day. How do I survive this? And what are your suggestions?
Ugh. I
Wait,
I
can I
have
also
to.
note this educator says that they're in Arizona. So that's a total coincidence, but
Mhm.
that's so cool.
Yeah, problems everywhere.
Problems
Um,
everywhere.
problems everywhere. And I giggled a little bit at my administrator says to build relationships.
Mhm,
That is absolutely what I have said from day one.
mhm,
It's always connection before compliance.
right,
However, you are in a crisis situation, and the student came in after you have gone through the process of
mhm,
setting up and building those relationships with your class and building a community. And now you've got this little person, this almost, it probably feels a little bit like this intruder in your community.
mhm,
Um, is there a time when you can sit down with the student when they're not having a bad day? They come in, maybe have a lunch, have something where you can sit and learn a little bit about that student, um, that is outside of school, that
mhm,
is outside of behavior. Maybe they are a football fan. Maybe they are, I don't know, they're really into, some subject, anything, that you can use to softly connect,
mhm,
um, with them. It's not going to answer all your problems. However, it can help you when you're trying to de-escalate
mhm,
what's happening. I hope that you have someone on your team that you can go to as a buddy room,
mhm,
where the student can maybe go to reset. I don't mean destroy the other room, but when you see it start, there's those subtle signals before the desk flips,
mhm,
um, where you can send them for a walk down the hall to deliver a note to the other teacher and then come back. There's Without really knowing what's happening or seeing it happen, it's hard to say for sure, but try and, yes, build a relationship, but maybe just a subtle connection at a
mhm.
time when the student doesn't have an audience.
Mhm. I love the suggestions that you're providing because it is important to have relationships, but there are also steps to take. And I wonder if those small breaks and also having some adults to lean on in this process, whether it's another teacher or the
Mhm,
administration coming in, there are a lot of little things I'd love to set up. I would say keep communicating with those around you, keep problem
mhm.
solving. Don't give up on it yet. You'll be successful soon. And we'd love to help. And speaking of wanting to help, Stephanie, I know that you have been not only willing to share here, but I know that our community would love to connect with you. So stick with us as we kind of wrap up our conversation here. We'll tell you how to connect with Stephanie and how to get access to the resources that we create related to this episode as well. Sustainable Teaching is brought to you by Teachers Deserve It, the professional development company built on one belief: teaching shouldn't cost you your weekends, your health, or your love for this work. Learn more at teachersdeserveit.com. Hey everyone, thank you so much for sticking with us through this episode. So many good takeaways. Stephanie, I would love to have you share a little about how our community here can maybe keep in contact with you if they have any questions or want to follow along more with your journey.
Sure. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, through my personal my professional personal LinkedIn account, but also, I have a blog that my AP and I are writing all about turning around to school. It's called Turnaround Unscripted. And we talk about all of the crazy things that happen. We also talk about, our views on different initiatives that are out there. What are we doing about, budget cuts and staff cuts, and how do we interact with our students, and what we believe at the core of everything that we do and all the decisions we make.
Oh, outstanding. Stephanie, we definitely want to feature your blog any way we can. And I'd love to invite you and your colleague to co-write on our, blog ourselves, because we are constantly putting out new tools. Speaking of, that's where all of you listening, don't forget that after every episode, we also create a tool related to the episode. So that's on our blog that you can go get those tools and resources each and every week. Stephanie, we'd love to have you write maybe a little feature to be able to share about what you're doing and promote the blog as well. So we'll have to work that out.
Sure. Sounds good.
Sounds awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the pod. And for everyone else, thanks for listening to the Sustainable Teaching Podcast.
Sustainable teaching.